Casual Magic has been sponsored by Quiver, maker of the Quiver and Bolt deck cases and other fine deck holding accessories. Use the code CASUAL on their website for 10% off your order. We're also sponsored by Architect, the premier site for hosting your decks on the internet. I love them and they love me, and it seems like a good reason for you to use them. You can also support Casual Magic directly by going to our Patreon at patreon.com/ShivamB. And now, on with the show. Hello and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam, Bhatt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Architect and Quiver and my patrons at patreon.com/ShivamB. And today I have a much requested interview. Like a lot of y'all have been asking for this specific gent. My dear friend Bengineering Ben Ulmer of Loading Ready Run in his own streams, and just like one of the kindest and most pleasant dudes to get like housed by in a game of Magic. How's it going, buddy?
Hi. That what an incredible intro. Oh my god. I wasn't prepared for the roller coaster of emotions that I was about to go on like 5 seconds into this. Hi. Thank you very much for having me, buddy. I'm really excited to be here. It's
We've been friends for a long time, and I swear every time I see you, I'm always happy to see you, and that's really the best you can ask for from your friends, right?
Well, oh, absolutely. I mean, like one thing I've noticed, as you and I have gotten to we've been very fortunate to do like a lot of Magic events and stuff like that. Is like,
yeah,
we've gotten more and more busy at these things, but every single time we always have time to be like, you come here, hug. Okay, all right, you go do your event. Okay, I'll go do my event. And it's just like I'm so excited to see you here.
It's wild to think about. Like years ago, we used to be able to sit and like there used to be time to just sit and maybe play a game or just hang out and chat or do whatever. Now it's just like wall to wall. We get in the door, there's a line immediately to talk to both of us, and it's just like,
well, and just like any sort of amount of events and things like MagicCon has just turned into such an incredible sort of event, right? Like it's a convention. It's not we're no longer gone are the days of the GP with some side events,
right?
Kind of thing, right?
I was actually just thinking about that the other day. Like it used to be you would go to a GP and it would just be a warehouse full of just very studious people playing Magic and a couple of dealers, and then like the random tables in the back for like side drafts and like the commander game. And now it's just like, right? Like
it's a whole thing. Yeah. And I mean, like, talking to people who have been like, oh, this is my first Magic event. I'm like, I'm so stoked that like this is, the caliber of event you get to go to now, right?
Yeah, like my first Magic event was like 40 people in Oakland just playing some random standard tournament with bad lighting and crappy chairs. Like we have come a long way.
The AC barely on kind of a thing. Everyone's like sweating.
Yeah, seriously, right? It's like, like people miss GPs, and I get why, because it was fun having a tournament every weekend.
Yeah.
But
I
don't miss the GP experience. You know?
I think that these events have turned into more of like a celebration of Magic, and so it's just like, did you just come to jam some Commander games or whatever with friends? Sick. There's a giant spot for that. Did you come 10, and just get a bunch of art? There's so many seats. But it's like, did you just come to get like a bunch of artist signatures and stuff like that? You got like a giant area, right? Like. It's super cool, and It
was really funny though, because like I just went to Gen Con a few weeks ago, and I met a bunch of Magic players there who had only ever been to MagicCon and never been to a real like MegaCon, and they're like, I thought MagicCon was big, and I'm like, bro, MagicCon is like one tiny corner of like Gen Con is like insanely huge, and they're like, there's 80,000 people here. I'm like, they're using a football stadium for their free play area. Okay. Like,
it's a lot. Like I haven't been to, I haven't had the opportunity to go to like any, like I know Gen Con at time of recording.
So much fun.
I was talking to James, fellow Loading Ready Run, James Turner, because he was out there helping with game nights.
I ran into him.
Yeah. And he was just texting me the whole time, being like, this is so big. There's so much going on here, right? Like,
I mean,
you gotta work your way up to
here's the thing: like,
the
there were at least 50 people I knew were there that literally did not see, just because they were in different hotels that were playing D&D or doing something that were just like not anywhere like. But I was there with my son and my wife. It was my son's first con, and my wife hadn't been to a con in a long time.
Oh,
And my
awesome.
son was dressed up like Royal Guard Link from Breath of the Wild, and he got to cosplay, and he's walking around, and he was feeling super cool about it. And I'm like, all right, this is the con experience I want to give you. Let's go. And
That's
like,
awesome.
it was just wall to wall board games, and I was like, this is the way.
Yeah. Like I've gone to like PAX Unplugged for like work and stuff like that, and that's got very much like a trade showy sort of like vibe to it. But I gotta say, just like in the grand scheme of nerdy gaming things, right? Like it's just so cool that like a massive convention of the size of like Gen Con, and I mean, looping back into the state of where Magic is like, it's incredible that like we can fill up massive convention centers with people that are just like interested in like this tabletop sort of stuff.
Isn't it
right?
cool?
Like, yeah, and we've made a career out of it.
Right? Like, I was just thinking about, like, I mean, think about Amsterdam. Amsterdam might have been the best Magic Con I've ever been to, and I've been to all of them except for Barcelona.
Yeah.
And it was like, the party was awesome. The con hall itself was like one of the coolest halls I've been to. It just, the big airplane hangar kind of vibe, but it was like comfortable. It was like, it was, I mean, it was full, like, it was sold
weather,
out.
Yeah.
But it was open and you could walk around in there. No, the weather sucked in Amsterdam. It was miserable.
Sorry, the outside, but like once you went
the weather inside,
the climate control, was quite nice. Although on the first day, because like you were saying, like it's like an airplane hangar looking. They had like the windows open.
Oh yeah, that was
in one of the areas, and it was just like blinding. So I
remember waiting in Magali's line, and the sun is just on me, and I'm like, this is a cool idea for someone else.
Yeah. I mean, it just made, the story of waiting in line at Artist Alley like more epic and arduous, because some of those lines get like wild. Like some people they're capping when the thing opens. Oh yeah. Like I wasn't even looking for an artist line, but one of the dudes I was with was like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna go straight to Magali, and I was like, okay, I'll go to Magali's line. I've got nothing else to do. But I mean, I'm not going to get any other chance this con. It's going to be insane. Yeah.
So I did, and I'm glad I did, because I was like right up there. And Wheeler comes up to me behind me. He's like, "Hey, you're already in line. Here's my card to get him something." I'm like, "God damn it."
Yeah, that sounds like him.
He's like, "I got to go to the dragon ship thing." Bye. I'm like,
yeah.
Wheels. But it was cool because then I got Magali to draw. I got to commission her to draw something for me, which she doesn't do.
Right. Yes.
And
yeah.
She drew Link, and I was like, "Hell yeah, let's go!" But you know what? I want to. Enough about me.
Sure. Yeah, we've been waxing about. We just launched right into it.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know what? It's because you and I have been friends and have known each other in like almost 10 years now. I realized. And that's like me and you and like the Loading Ready Run crew have just like, since I think like Kaladesh, which was I guess 8 years ago now or something. But even then, it's like we have hung out so much that we're just like actual friends now, which is great, and I love that for us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I was thinking about it because like I think this is the second time I've been on the show, because like I had been on
my old show Commanderin.
Yes, yeah, Commanderin, yes, and like we talked about like flavor versus function,
yes,
and stuff like that, and I was just like, yeah, that wasn't that long ago, and I was like, wait,
that was like
I wasn't seeing my current partner at the time, so it's over 6 years ago. It's just
that
like,
I was
like, oh my god.
Yeah, that was like 2017 or something, bro.
Yeah, or something like that. Like, oh my god. So yeah, you and I have been we've been buds for quite a while. And, it's awesome.
Which is fun. And I mean, oh yeah, because it was you, me, and Olivia were doing that show. That was when Olivia was my co-host.
Yeah.
Me and Commander helped introduce Olivia to the world, and the world is a better place for it. Absolutely,
yeah.
But yeah, so let's God, how do I rejigger? Because we just started going right away. Okay,
yeah.
So,
do you want me to introduce myself? Or
Ben, tell the kids who you are.
Hi. I'm Ben, or Bengineering on the internet. I work with a lovely group called Loading Ready Run. I've been doing so for almost a decade now. We produce all kinds of content. Most folks probably know us for our Magic stuff, including like the pre-release, where we get to showcase new sets as they're coming around. Those are happening more frequently these days than they used to.
I just keep waiting for my invite to come back, man.
I mean, there's it's
when you guys get the budget again, I am there with bells on.
That is very much it. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, I mean, and I'm sure everybody has experienced it, is like the changes of how Magic is structured from like a corporate sort of standpoint has been. Has been an interesting sort of thing to develop over time, but yeah, we do all kinds of stuff, I've been playing Magic for not as long as I would. I think a lot of the veterans would say. When do you think when would you? What would you say is like the
like
good 10 years
the vibe
spot?
You give off makes me think that you started playing in like the early 2000s, but you're also so young that like that doesn't play. So I'm like, and it's got to be like 2010 or something, 2010, 2011, like Duels of the Planeswalkers.
You're kind of close. Yeah, honestly, like I really started playing. I got interested in Magic around like Journey to Nyx, Theros, kind of
all the sets to get into.
yeah. Well, I was like, ooh, Greek mythology. Like, I really enjoy that, right? And like, so I kind of dabbled with it. And at the time, my buddies were like, sure, let's all do it. Ben, you bought like a booster box. Can you make us some decks or whatever? and I made my buddy like a mono blue Merfolk deck exclusively out of cards from Theros and like Born of the God. So it's like, there were not that many good.
No, there were not that many. There were like 5.
Yeah. So I remember, what is it, like some mesmerizing like hypnotist or whatever. It's just like a creature that's like, it just taps and gives something -2, -0.
There were a bunch of. Look, I love Theros, but there were some real humdingers of cards in there.
Oh yeah. But I ended up getting hooked, and like I really started actually playing during cons, so it's like Tarkir has been like a big love of mine, and so like when they announced recently that we'll be going back there at some point, I'm pretty pumped about that. So yeah.
It's funny, like everybody's got like the set they started with and then the set that they learned how to play with, right? Like I came back to Magic with like the Scars and Innistrad era, and I was like, I didn't know what I was doing at all. But then like Return Ravnica comes out, and now I'm like, oh, I know what I'm doing, and suddenly it's a lot more fun, and I get it, and it's very like, you feel it, and I'm like, oh yeah. Well, and RTR Block was also just hella good, so
it's super good. Yeah, I mean, like realistically, like I was like very casual in playing and just kind of for fun, and then it didn't really end up picking up for me until I moved to Victoria here to work.
Where are you from?
Originally, I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, so it's one province
deep in
over.
The center.
It is deep. Yeah, it's in the center, very landlocked place. So going from that to an island was a very interesting, experience.
Why did you move to Victoria?
So I guess like the kind of TLDR of me coming to it was to be a part of Loading Ready Run.
Really?
Yeah. So it was. I get it. Going into the backstory. So I used to perform improv comedy at anime conventions around Canada.
That sentence kept going.
such an amazing sentence to open up with. Oh yeah, and I was molded amongst the Naruto runners on the university quads. Like,
dude, when I went to anime cons, Ranma one half was the hottest on the block. So I've been there. I put my time in, but
oh yeah. So yeah, I traveled around Canada with a group called Synaptic Chaos Theater, which if you
sounds very much like an anime improv group.
Yes, absolutely, and it was it was with Beej and Ian, fellow Loading Ready Run members. Yeah. So we used to do that with a bunch of other friends and stuff. And as that was sort of going on, Loading Ready Run, every year we put on a yearly charity called Desert Bus.
Right.
And so Beej and Ian would go every year to go help out with that. And eventually, as time kind of went on, they were like, we're actually just going to move out there because we want to start getting involved with this LRR group. And we were like,
also,
oh, okay.
Beej and Ian are understated and absolutely hilarious.
Oh, they're
great.
great.
Some of the funniest friggin' people, I swear to God.
Yeah, I mean, in relation to Magic, Beejlander has become one of like a staple. Which, if you're unfamiliar, it's a format that we invented, which is like we buy those like dollar store repacks of Magic cards.
It's such garbage.
We make 100 card singleton deck and play it.
Yes, but
so
just
bad.
In terms of like the sketches and stuff, they're just so funny.
Oh,
it's just
they're great.
Humans. But yeah, so like they moved over until you were like, I want to do that too?
Kind of, yeah. So at the time, my background is actually in theater, like in lighting and sound. I was doing like backstage tech stuff. Yeah, right. That's the engineering aspect, because they needed for Desert Bus. They were like, hey, we want somebody who we want to fill out the engineering core of it, which is the people who make sure that the charity runs, right? But who also feels comfortable being in front of camera. And Beej and Ian were like, hey, we know literally
specifically
like
the guy.
Yeah. So at the time, I was managing an EB Games, or like a GameStop.
Wow. That is old throwback.
Oh, yeah.
Good old electronics boutique.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Right. And it was such a different thing. Nowadays, I think the EB Games is like where you can go to buy Funko Pops.
It's like Funko Land got bought by EB or GameStop, and then GameStop bought like EB, and then they became one giant mega conglomerate. And because I remember when I was a kid, we had like Software Etc. and EB Game. Anyways, old.
I mean, I'm with you. I was like Rogers Video, like those were the places that I went. But yeah, so I came out and actually the lead up to it was I was like, hey, in November, I want to go down to Victoria to do this charity thing for a week. Can I go do that? And they were like, no, November is Christmas season. This is when everyone's buying things. And I was just like, oh, I mean, it's like at the beginning and I'll come right back. And they were like, no, you cannot leave. And I was like, okay. Then I quit. So I quit my job to go do this random internet charity. And I just unplugged my headphones as I did that. And went out to go do it. Had a lot of fun, and apparently made an impression, because afterwards James came up to me and was like, so when are you moving to the island? And I was like, well, it's funny you say that. I'm currently unemployed.
Serendipitously.
Yeah. So now here's the thing. At the time, Kathleen, fellow LRR member, was in charge of volunteers for the event. And if she knew that I did what I did at the time, she would have been livid, because it's like, you don't quit your job to come do some charity kind of
Absolutely
thing, right?
Not.
No,
that is insane.
Yeah,
that is
don't do it.
Insane.
So in the meantime, kind of leading up to my move, I went back to what I went to school for, which was the tech stuff. So I did like backstage stuff and like touring with bands and whatnot. And then, eventually I was able to put in
touring with bands.
Yes. Yeah. I set up stuff for like Lamb of God. And it was, I was working with
you were like a stagehand type?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. With IATSE, the Stage Workers Union.
Cool.
Getting like set up. Yeah. I also worked with a group called All Star or something out of Edmonton. And
that explains why you know how to do things like rigging and mics and lights and stuff.
Yeah. So that's my background in that. And then so eventually I managed to get a part-time gig at the Empress Hotel in Victoria.
I've been there. It's very pretty.
It's lovely, just like setting up for weddings and stuff. And so I moved there with with a friend of. I'm just going through the Lurcast at this point, Serge Jaeger, and we're just gonna
go ahead and name drop all of our friends.
Dude, it was a group effort, I guess, to get me out here. Really, And yeah, so I lived in like a room of one of Serge's friends and did part-time setup at the hotel and then random like editing stuff for Lure as like my foot in the door.
Mm.
And then one of the main people, Alex Stacy, again, another name drop.
Yep.
He ran the horror stream that we do called Let's Snope over on there.
I'm just going to stop you for a second there. I have watched. So I hate horror games. I do not appreciate. I mean, I appreciate they exist, la horror, whatever. I do not like horror games. However, I will watch you and Adam play these stupid games all the time because it is so unbelievably funny, and I hate these games so much.
Oh man, and so that's the thing. I was exactly the same way, Shivam. Like literally, I was the kind of person that if I watched a couple minutes of a horror movie, I'm like done. I'm nightmares for a week, dude. Like it was so bad. So Alex asked me to be his co-host on this stream, and I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll tough it out to put my foot in the
Let's
door.
Go.
And then we really hit it off, and then eventually like Alex stepped away to go do other kinds of pursuits and stuff, and I became in charge, and over time I guess I kind of slowly started taking over more shows at LRR to the point now where I'm like one of the like
main cast.
Main cast members, and I run a number of different like properties on the channel. So yeah, it was a wild adventure. I don't recommend doing it the way I did.
No, you just listening to it is giving me like giving my dad senses just like hives. This is a terrifying. This is an with all due love, this is an idiotic way to do things.
No, so dumb, dude. Like, yeah, it could have went so poorly for me, right? And I'm so fortunate that like at my dad and my stepmom were very supportive. They were like, you got to do what you got to do, kind of a thing. If you need to come back home, you always can, kind of a thing. But it ended up working out okay. Yeah,
that is a kind of risk that I would have been very averse to take, to put mildly. I would have been like, wait, you want me to quit my job to go? I mean, I say that now having been unemployed for a long time, but I'm like, maybe going to Victoria to do charity would be fun. It's also, though, it helps that Victoria is like gorgeous. I mean, I would live there in a heartbeat if
it has fundamentally changed. Yeah, dude. Like it's fundamentally changed how I enjoy being where I am. Right, like whenever we go to a convention or something doesn't have at least like a good amount of water nearby, right? I get like anxious.
Dude, I cannot live without knowing the ocean is within driving distance. It's just that's not a thing I can do because I need that water. And everybody's like, yeah, but for the cost of one of your bedrooms, you could have a 14-story castle in Topeka, Kansas. I'm like, yeah, I could.
Yeah,
but I also can walk to the ocean from my house. So
that's the thing, right? And I mean, there are so many discussions that are had about just like there's a very good chance that most people in like this generation won't be able to like buy. They'll be renting till the end of time, kind of a thing. And I've accepted that a little bit so that I can live where I do because it's great, but
it does. Yeah. I mean, like it sucks, right? Like
it's tough, dude.
I got incredibly lucky in that my wife and I both had full-time jobs at the time. I had just gotten promoted from like temp to full with like a huge salary increase, and the Bay Area real estate market at the time was at its lowest like ever historically. Like houses were just like being given away like candy. So I was able to buy a house at the very bottom of the market. And like today, my house, I just got an email this morning saying like, oh, your house is worth twice as much as what you paid for it. And I'm like, that's great. If I sold it, I would be living in a box outside of it because I can't afford to live anywhere else.
That's kind of the thing. Yeah. Right.
But it's like,
it's nice to see that that's the thing. I don't think anybody begrudges, like, I don't begrudge anybody who owns a home, right. But it's like,
I got lucky.
But on the flip side, it's just like, instead we sort of transferred it, I think, into things like experiences and stuff, right? Like never in my wildest dreams did I think like, I'd be going to places like Amsterdam or Barcelona, or like, like getting to do, and obviously I get to do it through work and I'm very fortunate.
And I mean, the thing about like, did you ever dream that your work would be like, hey, on Wednesdays, we're going to play a weird board game for a bunch of people to watch?
No, right? So it's like I'm blessed in different ways, you
right?
know?
Like it's
and-
amazing.
yeah, I think and getting I mean talking about like what how you and I have been friends for so long. One of the coolest things about doing what we do is that just about everybody who is within this like magic sort of sphere,
Mm,
we all like know each other and are like our friends and are like
right?
pumped to see each other. And it's a reoccurring joke I say at every one of these like magic cons is like, I'll be like talking to like Voxy or something, and we'll be sad and hugging like, oh, I'll miss you. And I'm like, but for a lot, like we get invited out to these things, and like the next one's coming up in 3 months. It feels like we're like a traveling, like
Right?
carny.
It's
Like,
exactly what it feels
thing,
like.
right? And then people come in and it's like, welcome to Magic Con. Welcome to Magic Con. And, and it's like, all right, well, I'll see you
It's
at
like
the next
Ren
one.
Fair. Like, I'll see you at the next one, right? Like,
Yeah, which I still haven't done, and I keep having Olivia and Brian be like,
okay, but the way
down.
they do Ren Fair and the way most humans do Ren Fair is not the same.
That's fair. I need to experience. I've never done a Ren Fair, and I've never been to medieval times. I've never gotten like I know I've never gotten these experiences of fantasy role play.
Look, I always felt weird at Ren Fairs because when I used to go in the 90s and 2000s, it was definitely the whitest place on the planet. And my friend and I were like fantasy nerds. We'd be like, where am I?
Yeah.
But now it's so much better now. Like, I mean, even at like Magic Cons and Gen Cons and stuff, like I was taking my kid around and I'm like, wow, there's like families, there's lots of queer people, there's lots of colored people. It's not just like when I was going to fandom stuff in the 90s and compared to now is like an entirely different universe. And I am so grateful for that just because it feels welcoming to everybody now.
Yeah.
And
like Magic has been moving into that sort of realm too, which has been very, very cool.
Yeah. And I think it's so great.
It's so awesome. Like, I mean, seeing, talking to, people at conventions. I went to my first regular pre-release at an LGS and forever. I had time for Bloomborough.
Once Bloomborough was not the same day as a friggin' event, right?
I know, it was great. Yeah. I got to go to an LGS. It was amazing. And just like play Magic. It was wild. And like, the amount of, like POC and like queer people that were at that event was like, 10 15 years ago, like you wouldn't see that as it's and to be clear, it's like it's not perfect, but it is really cool to see how it's weird, improving,
or rather it's great to see even like the kind of incremental change. People hate that, like, oh, change is too slow. Yeah, but like over time I've actually seen change, right?
Yes. Like tangible, we
can
results.
actually look at even pictures and you can see the vast difference. And I'm like, that's rad. Like the people making Magic have changed, the people playing Magic have changed, the cons have changed, and the fact that cons exist. But like, I don't know, it's such a delight. It's so much fun. And this, like, there's a lot of negativity online, but when you actually go to these shows and stuff and you meet the people and you're like, this is the coolest thing ever. These people are so great.
Like it's like when you live on Twitter or Reddit or anything like that, it's like it can give you a very skewed, I think, vibe on where whatever any sort of fandom is at, right? But then you go to like these celebration sort of events of the thing, and it's surreal, right? Like it's super, super cool to just see people enjoying the thing that we love so much.
In Amsterdam, the meet and greet line for me got capped. That has never in my life happened.
Isn't that surreal?
Yeah.
I
mean, mind you, I was sitting next to Foxy, so it was fair. But it's also just like, it was weird because there were just as many people to see me as there were to see her. And I was like, oh, look, these people are all here for Foxy, maybe one or two. No, it turned out. And I was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's one thing to say that on the internet where I can just be like, well, I'm something of a big deal. But then another thing to be like, oh no, these people are actually here to see me, like for real. And it's like, well, so, I don't know.
It's super weird but like it
gratifying.
And it's so and but honestly, cards on the table, the thing that has been the best about it for me has been me being able to like, I take pictures of like, you know, like these big lines of people who are coming to come say hi, which is just a massive, like, for me, like, personal self-help boost, you know, when I'm feeling, you know, crummy or whatever, or sad in the morning, I can look at this and be like, oh my God, like, this is incredible. But more importantly, it's been a photo that I can show to my partner's parents who still don't quite understand what I do for a living, to be like, look, I swear it's a real career. I swear, you know, like, this is going to be an actual thing. I pay my bills, you know, I was like, telling taxes.
Right, exactly. I was like, look, people are flying me places so that folks can meet me. And my mom's like, do they pay? What do they want from you? And I'm like, to take a picture? And she's like, can you monetize that? I'm like, no, Mom, please stop.
Yeah. But I got to at my partner's brother's like rehearsal dinner wedding. I was talking to the Reverend, who was a good friend of the family, and he was like, you know, doing the thing. He was like, he's an older gent, so he's like asking kind of what this all entails and stuff like that. And he's like, so you play like this like thing with like the little cardboard rectangles? And I was like, yeah, Steve, like that's And he's like, and people pay to watch you do that? And I was just like, yeah, you know, it's kind of like you're watching golf, right? You know, somebody you might or you might be watching like sports, but like I'm not like pro level Magic player.
It's more like watching bowling.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, or I try to be funny, you know, and to categorize that. And he's like, well, okay, I kind of get that, but like, why would I pay for that? And I just like looked him dead in the eyes, and I was like, you know, Steve, it might just not be for you, dude. And I didn't realize, but the wedding party was listening to this conversation, and they just burst out laughing. Because to the Reverend of the wedding, I'm just like, it's not for you, Steve. So it's like, as time's gone on, he's been in a lot of like these other like, you know, get-togethers and whatnot. He's like, all right, I got more questions about this. And I'm like, all right, Steve, hit me up, man. Like, I'll try my best here.
That's so good. Okay, so going back like 40 steps a second, like if you started with Theros and kind of gone forward, what's it been like to go back and play all these other older sets? Because I know like LRR, you guys do sometimes like old drafts or weird formats or whatever. Like, you obviously at this point you've been experienced with Magic well enough that any card is any card, but do you ever stop and go like, what in the hell were they thinking?
Oh, all the time, man. Like, I mean, whenever like we do like a lot of like chaos drafts and stuff like that. I think probably the most recent thing of like just actual product that has made me go, huh, is like Time Spiraled Remastered and stuff, where I just look at like some of the things that like, you know, or just like looking at cards that you think were like really this was like the bomb of the format, and I was just like, this is like an uncommon nowadays kind of a thing.
It's a 4/4 for 6 that I have to pay 3 for every upkeep, and that was the bomb.
And that was where you went. Yeah, all right. Okay, Grandma, let's get you to bed. But like, no, I mean, if anything, I think as Magic has progressed, I have slowly become like, I'm like, this is an uncommon, and like nowadays kind of Magic, like it is buck wild, like some of the cards. And I
just think of that stupid elk that's got like 3 keywords in Bloomborough.
Yeah.
And like, you know, Flash and Vigilance and Reach and Trample.
Goodbye, Colossal Dread Mama. I love that card, but the Surprise Moose is where it's at these days. Like,
yeah, I'm like, why does this have Flash? It's a moose. Gosh. It's a 6/6.
Yeah,
where is it hiding?
So many gotcha. It was like between that and like the red boar that is effectively the same thing but without Flash. It's like there's some beaters, dude. Like, it's yeah. I mean,
my God. I realize this is coming out after Duskmorn. I'm sorry, people. I just recorded way in advance. I have no idea what's in the next set. Tough.
It's gonna be. I'm excited for that one too. As a horror boy, I think it's gonna be cool.
I am not as a very much not horror person. I am gritting my teeth and holding my breath because there's gonna be some weird chainsaws and things. I'm like, okay, you know what? Whatever it is, 2 months later, there's gonna be another one. So who cares?
This is a very moment where I'm just like, I understand why you and Wheeler are such good buddies, and like, do another whole podcast together, because I know that Wheeler's kind of in the same, and I super understand that, like, there's a one of the things I think besides the fact that Bloomberg is very cute, I think one of the things that people are really hopping on is it's like this standalone fantasy oriented tale, right? And I mean, obviously it has some very striking similarities to like Kamigawa like story, right? But like I think that's what people are really, really enjoying. It's not some, obviously it's like a world friendly event.
It feels a little back to basics. Yes, it feels a little like bread and butter magic is what it feels like to me. Just like, I mean, the mechanics are a little weird, but there's nothing there that's so complicated that it's hard to explain to somebody. There's nothing there that's like, okay, I need to give you like a 5-minute explanation of all the tricks and stuff going on. No, it's a very straightforward, on its face, clean game of Magic, and it feels like it's been a very long time since we had one of those.
Well, and I mean, I think for me personally, one of the, I don't think it's a mistake, but it's like when they did the March of the Machine, big like, Avengers style sort of event, right? Where it's like all these planes are coming together and you have like the Omen paths now opening up to all these planes and stuff. I think like every set, post that was like, here's like 17 characters from like other planes. You remember this person? And I'm like, okay. And like, I think OTJ was like Outlaws Thunder Junction was a neat set, but I'm like, I don't know a dang thing about that plane, dude. And it's like, absolutely. I was like, I couldn't tell you who lives on it. And I'm like,
and here's the problem. The story itself was just like, hey, the plane was uninhabited before the Omen Paths. I'm like, then why do we have a Native American main character? What are they native to if nobody was from there?
Well, and I was like, oh, okay, it's got these cactus people. Are they like from the plane? It's like, not a cactus people came too. I'm like, I don't know anything about this, right?
I mean, honestly, I think the cactus people are indigenous, but honestly, who can even tell you?
Yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, that's the thing, right? Is who can say?
No, right? It's just like I love Westerns a lot. It's one of my favorite genres and stuff. And OTJ just made a hash out of it. They were like, they made no sense thematically, mechanically, or any. I mean, basically, Bristly Bill is just about that and like the Bonnie Paul are the only cards I actually care about from that set.
Sure, yeah.
I have no idea what's going on.
And it's like, I'll be like a slight hypocrite, because it's like I do get pumped when like if it's a character I really like making a return. I'm like, sure, neat, right? Like it's like I really like Giz and Geralf, right? Like Giz and Geralf are I love their sibling rivalry.
Funny. They've got a great back and forthiness.
Yeah. And so like whenever they get a new card, I'm like, sick, right? And the new ones from that set are bananas.
They're real crazy.
But just like looping it to Bloomberg, I think that has honestly been such a huge thing in its favor. Is like, it's just, I know that Ral is there, but like it has been,
but that's fine. It's okay to have one guy.
I think that's fine, right? And you've been able to kind of get a feel for this plane. And I think a lot of people have actually started having conversations about like, gosh, don't you wish you could spend another set here and go back to like block kind of stuff? And
it's like that's how you know that they got a winner there. It's like when Kamigawa ended and New Capenna came out and everybody was so disappointed because Kamigawa was so cool.
Yeah.
Bloomburrow is the second time I felt like that, where I'm like, oh man, I wish I had more Bloomburrow. Like, I mean, before that, I think like my favorite sets were like Kaldheim or Dominar United, which are like, they came, they did, they left. And I was like, you know what? I had enough of them, but I had a great time while I was there. This is the first one I'm like, no, I want to know more about me
for a little longer. Yeah. And I think, it's tough. I mean, like and as a kid, I was like a big like Redwall fan, too, right? And so like it definitely feeds into that quite a bit.
I've been reading Redwall to my son for bedtime story lately, and I'm like, man, that story's so good.
They're so great. Have you shown him the
Redwall
cartoon?
Book is way messed up though. I have like the old PBS one. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. It was cool. It was freaky. Clooney the Sturge with his like. Anyways, I'm not gonna Redwall, but I love me a good Redwall. But actually, I wanted to talk to you about an entirely different subject for 10 seconds, which was that. Well, I want to ask you about your snakes, but I also want to ask you because like I just before recording, I finished watching the episode of Shuffle Up you were on, and with Iffy and everything, and I'm like, man, now I understand why you were like, oh yeah, I was an improv comedian, because you were funny as hell in that episode.
Thank
Because like
you.
you and Iffy got like into like a rhythm, and suddenly it became just like you're very like one thing I've noticed over the years of watching you is you are very, very fast at picking up what people are putting down and running with it. And that is a very difficult talent to have. I mean, that's a very difficult skill to get, right? Like sometimes people like don't know necessarily like it's easy to be like, oh, okay, I see it's coming, but I don't know what I'm going to do with this. But you've got a really good instinct to just be able to like figure out where the funny thing is and just like, I will make it up as I'm going, but it's going to be good about it. And I'm so knowing that you came from an improv background suddenly makes a lot of sense because I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
thank you. Yeah, I mean, like, it is definitely like a yes and mentality, right? Like,
right.
it's and it doesn't always need to be, you know, like someone's like, I'm going to the bakery. You're like, the bakery that's run by dinosaurs. Like, it doesn't need to do that. Sometimes it's just being like, oh, awesome. What and like, how are you getting there, or like what are you getting, like letting, you know, adding something that allows them to be like to hit you with the ones back. But yeah, I mean, for the snakes, I guess in order, I've got 3 snakes. I have oh my gosh, sorry. I have a Kenyan sand boa. Their name is Miso. I'll go from smallest to biggest. They're like about this big, kind of.
Wow,
They're
that's
like,
small.
yeah. Oh, they're teeny tiny, like about, yeah, the 2 fingers kind of put together.
That's crazy.
Very, very itty bitty. And they're the snake that I give to somebody to if they want to
Hold a
if
snake.
they're like if they want to hold a snake for the first time and they're not ready to hold, like, you know, I have a ball python who is quite large, right? And I'm just like, maybe you're not ready for that kind of a thing.
No.
Yeah. So I have a ball python named Sable. And then I have a milk snake named Skip, and Skip is like the longest of them, but is also not. No, so one of the main things I like really try to do is make sure that none of my snakes are biters. In that you will never, if I want at any moment, I should be able to, you know, kind of pick them up unless they're like shedding or something and hand them to somebody who's interested in learning about snakes. But Skip is definitely the one who will not chill. Like you will just kind of keep going around like your arms and stuff like that. The other 2 will just kind of be like, yeah.
Why snakes?
So prior, when me and my partner first started dating, they are a veterinarian tech. And so big animal person, and I'm a big animal person too, but I'm super duper allergic to dogs and like animals and stuff in general.
You have a dog.
And that's the thing. So initially we started just filling our home with animals that I wouldn't have an allergic reaction to. So we had 3 snakes. We had a bunch of frogs. Like we just kind of like turned it into like this, like, you know,
weird
reptile
swamp.
amphibian sort of. Yeah, we turned it into a swamp. Yeah. But my partner always wanted a dog, and I do too. And so I have a dog now. He's actually sleeping literally right there beside me. I just take a bunch of medication and now for it. I have a friend who is actually a big part of the magic community. Pharmacist Judge is his handle. Min, he's a great guy. Min. We love Min. He recommended like a bunch of different medications and whatnot, and I finally tried something that worked, and now I have a dog. It's also just like exposure therapy, you know, like or
it's
just
like, my hives have gotten a little smaller.
yeah. So it's like, yeah, the first year of me being a dog owner, I was just like kind of being used to being a zombie hopped up on Benadryl. But
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But now, you know, I'm fine. And some days I forget to take my allergy meds and I'm okay. So yeah, we have a veritable zoo in our
That's
house.
Wild.
Yeah, they want to get another dog.
Because I remember when I discovered you have snakes, I'm like, who keeps snakes? I mean, that's cool. Like, it's neat.
Yeah.
Like,
it depends. Like, there's so many types of snake keepers, right? Like some people like to collect what's called like hot snakes, which are like, you know, venomous, and snake, you know, snakes that if they bite, it's gonna be a problem. a bad zone, right? I'm not about that. I don't really want any. So these are all snakes that don't use like venom and stuff. And
so do you like keep like mice around to feed them or something? What do you do?
no, so some to this disclaimer, I guess some snakes have a hard time doing not live feeding, and I acknowledge that, but I'm not pro live feeding. I think it's messed up on all angles, because it's messed up for the mouse, it's messed up for the snake because the animal might fight back and stuff like that. It's sure. So right beside the popsicles in my freezer is a box of frozen mice.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and you just defrost them and you feed them once every 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
And that's it. And that's why for people who are interested, I actually recommend snakes as like a good beginner kind of pet, because it's like they're very low maintenance. Like if you get a ball python, they get quite large, and eventually you'll need like a larger tank.
Like, do you have like a big old tank for that thing?
I do. Yeah. It's 75 gallon or something like that. We have like a whole rack with all of our snakes. But it's like, you feed them once every 2 weeks. You clean out their tank and whatnot. We actually moved our ball python into what's called a bioactive enclosure. So you get like little buggies and stuff that live in there as well. And so that's cool. They eat like the decomposing matter and like the poop.
That's a really clever way to do it.
Yeah, and it's a lot of initial work, because it's like you got to get like an ecosystem. So it's like there's a rock layer and then like a mesh layer so that the water can go below.
High setup cost, but worth it.
Oh god, yeah. But now it's like you don't actually really need to clean the tank. I like wipe down the sides maybe if it gets a little yucky or something. But beyond that, it's just they take care of themselves. So now it's like I take out my snake for fun and for when I need to eat. And I feed them in their kind of thing. And other than that, they're just chilling.
Yeah,
very
like
low maintenance pets.
We got a dog during pandemic for a brief time to see if it would give my son something fun time, but there were a lot of mistakes that were made with that, and I'm not going to go into them. And we gave the dog back to the breeder. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and we were lucky to be able to back out of that and put that dog into a place where it's much happier. However, the thing that I didn't realize, or I guess I'd never conceptualized, because as a lifelong Hindu vegetarian, I don't deal with meat very often.
Sure.
And this dog is like, I eat, leathery bull pizzles. And I'm like, you want me to have what in my house? That
definitely rubs up against a couple of things there.
And I was like, I learned a lot of things, namely that I'm not necessarily a dog person, and that's fine. I like other people's dogs. I'm very happy to let them have it. That's how I'm with kids. Like kids. Exactly.
I love hanging out with my friends' kids, and Graham and Kathleen have a lovely daughter who I like playing video games with and stuff like that. But then I also like being able to be like, all right, friends, I'm out, and go back to my childless.
Well, yeah, I'm like, you know what, man, I would much rather people who want to be in these situations can do that, and people who don't can not. I mean, that's fine. The world's going to continue. But like, I don't want to get into a conversation that will get into different places. So we're going to move right back on. I don't know, man. It's just, one of the things is like, I just really enjoy watching you on stream or at places, just because you are just continuously such a warm and happy presence, and people are always happy to see you. And I know that's like obviously all of us have our own traumas and therapies and things that we need to deal with, but I just really appreciate that when you're like mondo upset, you can still, be chill about it, and also still being like, happy to be here sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, like cards on the table, I keep knocking my I keep knocking the thing out of my headphones. Like cards on the table, I have been, tilty, salty, angy pants on stream before. And I think everybody does. Right. But like, I think the thing that has helped the most as a performer for me is the fact that for the most part, what you see on camera for members of Loading Ready Run is, at times like a hyperbolized version of who we are, but we've been allowed to sort of just be ourselves on camera. The work environment at Loading Ready Run is very much like, you've got a really cool idea. Cool, let's nurture that. Graham is a terrific boss, because you're just like, I have this idea, and his first thought is like, oh, not like, what's this going to do to the company, or how much is this going to cost? It's okay, how can we make this happen? That sounds like a really fun, or like, how can we tweak this so that it works as sort of a thing, right? And so I think that has promoted a space where we're able to just sort of be the people that we are. There's no formalized hiring process at LRR, as I've clearly shown, right? It's just sort of like
you show up at the door with a puppy dog face, and they'll
right. Like, it's just like, it's sort of this like, natural sort of onboarding process where, you hit it off, and you're like, hey, you want to come do this or whatever. But it's sort of led to this sort of environment where, we're all just sort of doing the things we want to do. And because we're all friends, like it makes it really, really easy just to be like upbeat kind of people. And, it's really interesting. The thing that blows my mind about LRR as a whole is that, like, numerically, if you look at like our channels and stuff like that, we are not the most subscribed to Magic channel by a lot, right? Like, we're not, when you look at like viewership numbers and stuff like that for streams and stuff like that, there are a lot of streams that are much lower than a lot of other people in the community and stuff. But what Graham and Paul, I've almost made it through the whole cast now at this point as the CEOs. This is amazing. I can't believe I'm telling the story here.
I'm like,
look, I'm almost there.
Like, let's mention Heather, and let's mention
What
Corey.
What Graham and Paul as the CEOs have sort of done is they've looked at promoting community relations and long-term sort of sustainable sort of growth.
What is it like having Graham as a boss? Because I know Graham is my friend, and I know that you guys are all friends, but sometimes I forget. I'm like, he actually runs a company with a number of employees, and like, he's got James there to help manage things. But like, what, like, presumably periodically you have to talk to him about basic things like salaries and insurance.
Yes.
What is that like relationship like? Do you have a challenge switching between, oh, this is one of my dearest friends, to, oh, now we have to talk actual like nuts and bolts business?
It's tough. And I think one of the, like, it's something that we're still constantly like growing as a company, right? Like, I say, even within the past 4 years, fundamentally, the scope of how the company is run is like, you would look at how it was 10 years ago, and you would think they're completely different companies, right? Because it's like it's a constant learning sort of thing. And like, working with Graham, who is my friend for like a very long time now, and but is also the person who writes my checks. It's like, it is it's like constantly finding a balance, and like finding talking to each other, and realizing that there is a link between, you're my friend, you're my boss, I have a concern, so we can bring this
Holy
up together, crap. Right? Like,
I just saw, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just was looking out my window. I saw a squirrel climb up the framework of this swing that I have behind me, and then literally jump. And it jumped across 6 feet to be on top of this sunflower over here. And it's like eating this freaking top of this sunflower.
That's
and
incredible.
I was like, I've never seen. And I'm sorry. I was just like,
no.
That thing literally flew across the backyard.
I do not blame. Listen. You're talking to with a boy with like certified diagnosed ADHD. I 100%. I've had some very real conversations with my partner.
I can't believe I just looked squirreled.
Like, literally, this happened like a couple of days ago, where me and my partner were like driving. We're like talking about like budget concerns because our rent just went up or whatever, and they're like, oh, what are we gonna do? Is everything go okay? Yeah, it's all right. And there's a chain of restaurants in Canada called White Spot, and on the sign it said Tuesdays free burger and bev, and I thought that was like the most hilarious thing. And so my partner is just like, yeah, I mean, maybe we'll scale back on some food this month or whatever. And I'm like, Monday, Tuesday, free burger and bev, and they just turn and they're like, Are you listening to me? I'm like, yes. Yes, I am. I promise you I processed what you said. So do not worry.
Anyways, I'm sorry. That was
100%.
literally, that was like, so I have an 8-foot tall sunflower in my backyard, and we've let it go to seed. And that dude was like, no, this is mine now. And he went for it. God bless him. He made it,
Let's go, squirrel.
Yeah. But anyways, it's weird. It's weird working for like, because I've seen it go so badly before. Like my best friend was one of my bosses, and we're not friends anymore. Like it depends on your friendship, and it depends on your ability to put that on hold for the next half an hour while we talk about your business. It must be so. I realize I'm talking to you about this, but it must be hard for Graham to sit there and go like, I have to give my employees like their yearly review, and it's like, these are my crew of best friends.
Yeah, it is, and he does it like supremely well, I think. And there is a nicety, to, if I had a colleague that I was pissed off at, right, and something ended up going wrong, and we had to have a conversation, and things got heated and stuff like that, like for the working relationship, I guess that's the incentive to be like, okay, have we reached an accord? Yes. Okay, cool. Move on, kind of a thing. But the beneficial part of all being friends is like, okay, we've run into an issue. We're talking about this issue. Things get heated. We might be upset, but I'm also more incentivized now personally to like be like, okay, and you're my friend, and I want to make sure that things are going okay, right? Like, and so, yeah, things get heated, and sometimes you also just kind of learn more about your friendship where you think that things start work. Like, Serge is one of my best friends in like the world. I love that man, and we hang out constantly. He and I have gotten into some like, work-related screaming matches like, with each other and stuff like that, and that happens, right? But it's like, it has really helped that it when I moved out here, I didn't have anybody besides like the people who worked here, right, to sort of be friends, and so it's like it kind of becomes like a family in that regard, and families fight, and but at the end of the day, like, it helps that a lot of people are incentivized to work together for it.
Yeah, I was really, because I've been to a couple EDSC recordings for the Elder Dragon Social Club thing, and I saw one where a couple of people on the staff were arguing about, or did not like the way someone was behaving during a turn, or the way they were talking to each other, and they literally paused and they had it out for a minute, and then they went back and we recorded it like it was just fine. I'm like, damn, that is both intense professionalism and also just really good friend maintenance, and I'm like, very impressed. It's
yeah.
I think
it gets strained, but
yeah,
no,
of course it does.
right. But like,
not everybody's going to work with everybody, but like sometimes you just know how to put it on hold until the job is done, and then be like, okay, we're going to talk about this later, But it's, geez, there's another squirrel who just flew. I've literally never looked at this during the day, and these guys are just like going at it, and that's sick.
Okay, but if a third squirrel shows up, you got to be worried, dude.
No, at that point, I'm going to be looking for the squirrel trap, because that's kind of like they are foraging and drawing cards right now. Oh, please don't knock that down. My beans are growing on that thing. Oh my god, he just took the head off the sunflower. Oh crap! Well, good luck, buddy. Sorry. I literally saw him tear the head off the sunflower.
Oh man, I'm getting actual Bloomborough storyline is happening in your backyard right now, dude.
Well, yeah, he's definitely burrowing my bloom. Jeez. My garden is sick this year, so it's like,
awesome.
But I never do these recordings during the day, so I'm never at like an open window when the sun is out, and I'm like, holy crap. No wonder this is what happened to all my
nature's beautiful.
Dude, I've been getting something like, I think I pulled 40 pounds of tomatoes off of my plants, which is,
that's wild,
nuts. That's nuts.
So much.
That's
much. That's always been my worries. Like if we started, like, because I've quite a big balcony, and we've talked about like making like a little garden and whatnot. I'm like, I'm so worried I just wouldn't be able to use all the stuff. No,
it's like I've made sauce, I've canned it, I've like given it. I mean, we're rolling in them. It's awesome. But you know what though? I mean, like I'm just very impressed with with the way you guys work, because I think that's like,
Oh,
it's
thank
like
you.
when you look at like other people, like, man, I wish I was part of LRR. It's like working with my friends is so fun. I'm like, it's not always fun, but
It's
it
got
is
some,
fun with
yeah,
them.
yeah. I mean, it's got some rough sides, but it has honestly been a treat all these years. And I gotta say, like, in regards to that, because you had brought it up, like, the environment in at Tellurian like community college has been, it was a treat to work in. It's very much
Yeah.
the same sort of vibe there. Like, you know, they're all workers and stuff like that, but like the editors
They're all
and
very
prof and
cool.
like they're all such nice people. So and I gotta say, like, prof just treats his guests
He's
like
so,
so well.
he is a model in so many different directions.
He really is. Like, he's there is a very, he deserves the amount of success that
Right?
he has been portraying. It's yeah,
Like,
he's such a great guy who I'm so humbled to be
I
friends
mean,
with, you know.
I've been friends with him since literally his ascent started, because we came back to Magic at the same event, same store, same pre-release, and watching him just, like, the reason I'm here at all is because he shared my stuff and I became popular for it, and now I get to be famous on my own right. But it's like, dude is one of the kindest, and I mean, he is just so like, he's the guy who really genuinely believes in the rising tide lifting all boats thing, and
Yeah,
he leaves ladders behind him for people to come up on. And
yeah.
like, you can't think of a better like model of professionalism and just kindness. Like, he's
Well,
so
and
good at
yeah,
this.
he really believes in like the collaborative effort, right?
Yeah.
Like, when I came in for Shuffle Up, I flew in like super early in the morning, and he was like, "Cool, we're just chilling for today and whatnot. Um, could you help me with some work?" And I'm like, "Yeah, totally, man. Like, thank you for doing." And like, so I helped him. I edited his a 1 million subscriber video, and like kind of and helped him like go through like the story arc and stuff like that, because like he had the vision of the, you know, the screw. It's a great video.
Yeah,
You
it's
should go
so
watch it.
funny.
Of like the, you know, the Christmas Carol Scrooge kind of a thing. But he's
Yeah.
like, I'm having trouble figuring out how to like start it and whatnot. And I was like, oh, dude, like, you've got that editing room full of editors. That's like your business accountant or like your
Right.
accountants who like are asking for coal. And he's like, oh my God, yeah, totally. And like, and so like collaboratively sort of like writing this sort of thing together, was super, super cool. And it's like, you know, and then he comes out and like
Oh, it's so
helps with
funny.
lure stuff. It's like, I think any one of us, you know, if you were like, hey, I need like a cameo from like a lure person or whatever, can you guys? It was like, yeah, man, totally. Like, we'll come over there. And likewise, I'm like, hey, Shivam, we need a voice line for this Friday night's episode. You'd be like, hell yeah, man. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
we're all just kind of working together,
James has
right?
been like, I need you to come up for Baldur's Gate next week. And I was like, on a Wednesday? And he's like,
Yeah.
I'll have you back on Thursday. And I'm like, oh, sure.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Right. Yeah.
it was wild, because it was the day that we discovered that, or that Graham discovered that he had cancer.
Yeah.
And so like, I flew in and I was like totally going to hang out with Kathleen. And Kathleen's like, it's not a good time. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, no, it's not,
No,
Kathleen.
it is not. Yeah. Yeah. That was a
But yeah,
tumultuous year for
yeah,
sure. But
it was definitely wild. But it was also like, yeah, you guys asked me. I literally dropped everything and flew across the border to come and hang out and help. And I was
well,
very,
and
very happy to do that.
yeah, I mean, and I mean, with the Shuffle Up and Play that I was on, it was so humbling, because like, you know, Prof reaches out to me and he's like, hey man, you know, I've been meaning to get you up here, and I have an episode that you were the first person I thought of. I've got Iffy from Dropout coming to come perform, and I know that you would be like perfect for this. And I was like, oh
Yes.
my God, like, absolutely. When are you thinking about doing? He's like, this weekend, or this coming up, we named like a weekend. And I was like, I think that is literally the weekend that we're starting principal photography on Friday nights. And I was just like, oh crap, no. Like, and so I text Graham, and this is another sort of like lead in of like working with your friends and stuff like that. It's like, Graham is obviously the director and
Yeah.
screenwriter and all that kind of jazz, and Serge is the production manager for the whole kind of thing. And I'm like, hey guys, I really want to do this. And Graham's like, I really want you to do this. And like, and so he's like, cool, we'll schedule. Well, Ben, are you okay with doing like 16-hour days like later in the week? I'm like, if it means I can do this, hell yeah. And so we worked out like a whole schedule to go do it, and then like I got sent out to do it, and man, like Iffy, what a cool guy.
I'm going to have him on the show soon. I haven't talked to him yet, but I'm very excited to do that.
They are so cool. Like, it's just like we never interacted, and I watched like a ton of Dropout and stuff. So every once in a while, I get these real like starstruck kind of moments, and it very much was like one of those things. But like the thing that just really warms my heart is like people who have watched the episode have been like, wow, Ben and Iffy were like really like riff off of each other.
You were so good.
We met that day.
It was so good. I was like,
yeah,
man, it felt like you had been working in a troupe together for years. You immediately went into minor voice, and you guys just started going back and forth. I was like, this is so so good. And I was just like, I was rolling on the floor. Like, the secret of content is that we don't have a lot of time to watch content, but I try to make sure to watch the prof shows just because like I want to support my buddy. And God, dude, I watched this episode like twice. It was so funny. And
it was great.
So and that's when I was like, cast. I need to talk to this guy. Like, I need to know who this guy is because he's funny.
He's so great. And what's really interesting too is like, so Darkpack Cosplay, Evan and
Evan's
and
also a delight.
They're so great. And like I have had opportunities to briefly chat with them at conventions, right? But like as we talked about, it's really quick, like, hey, how's it going? Like, I'm going to my thing. Okay, you're going to your thing, right? Like I'll see Tappy and I'll be like, hi, I love you, like hug. Okay, exactly. We're going to this next kind of thing, right? So we'd never really gotten a chance to interact, and we were both staying at the same hotel for this. And Prof just texted me and he's like, all right, you contact Evan and you two figure out how to get over, kind of a thing, or like when works best for you. I'm like, we have not interacted. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I hope they like me. Like, we've like nodded at each other a bunch and stuff like
Evan
that.
Is
and
they
were just like, oh my God, like I'm so pumped to like be working together. And I was like, oh, thank you. I was like, I think you're so amazing. We've just never really had an opportunity to talk, and we just like hit it off so well. And we went out for drinks after the episode was filmed, and like we just like got into so many like great conversations and
some
stuff.
Some of the best weekends I've had have been going taping Shuffle Up. It's
just such a good environment. Yeah, I mean, all the editors are amazing. It was also the first time I had gotten to sit down and just like really, just talk to. There was like actually like very little like magic conversations, right? So it's like when you're at like when you're at a Magic Con and stuff like that, you're kind of incentivized to talk about like what's been going on that weekend. And this was just like, me finding out that like that like Evan is like in like the drag scene and wants to like bring drag to like magic and stuff, and like talking to Iffy and their partner and stuff about like what they all do and
like Evan cool. is a political organizer and all this other things. I mean, one of the like most fun things I've ever done in the context of things is like at that Shuffle Up and Play where it was me, Sam, Spice, and Prof. And we were all just at Prof's house. I mean, at the recording studio after hours, and we just decided we're going to take like the next X hours and show each other our favorite YouTube videos and just talk about
YouTube
and basically
parties.
We had like the thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to set this video up and I'm going to present it to you, and then I'm going to make you watch it. And then Spice would do that, and then Ristic would do that, and then we went around the table and be like showing off our favorite music or content or whatever stuff. And it was so sick. And I'm like, man, this is the kind of camaraderie that we as professionals and like colleagues don't really get to have. But God, it's fun when we do.
Well, and I think that like that has been one of my favorite parts about doing what we do is the fact that everybody is incredibly welcoming. And, it's like, it's tough because it's like, I can 100% imagine that if you are on the outside sort of looking in at this like magic circle, right? This, I guess like you could call it like this inner circle of like magic friends or whatever. It's like, it can seem like incredibly intimidating to like break into, but it's just, everybody is so pumped to just talk to good people who like the thing that we like.
Right.
And whenever you have like somebody who is like rising or interested in getting into like the Magic content creation scene, or just like the content creation scene or whatever in general, it's like more than happy to just like to chat about and stuff,
Of
like
course.
that was one of my favorite things about when we were able to bring out like a ton of guests and stuff for the PPR and stuff, is like I never knew Alan, Mental Misplay,
Right.
before like they came out and whatnot, and then it's just like, and they're like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, hey, let's talk. And like we like took him out for like ice cream and stuff, and it's just like,
he is such a interesting guy.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so
and
much
just,
interesting things to talk about.
oh right, and it's just like, but it's just like, yeah, and on the flip side, it's like, if you're a dirtbag, you are very quickly like
Found out
told
and
to
left out.
go away. Yeah, right. It's like, and so, and it's just, it's been very, very nice to have people that are good people
Right.
sort of interacting with
That
one
is
another.
one of the
right?
criticisms that always has gotten to me, is people are like, oh man, you just go to shows and you're only hanging out with your big famous star friends. I'm like, no, that's not it at all. It's that these are people who are literally my colleagues in my industry, that we've all come up together from when we were literal nobodies. Yes, I love that all of you like us, because that gives us our jobs. But these are just like my friends that I only get to see once every quarter or whatever, if that.
Yeah.
Like,
And like as it's going on, like, we see each other less and less, because like we've got like more and more responsibilities. Like I think at Amsterdam, I played like, outside of like events that I was scheduled to be like a part of and stuff, in free play sort of land, I played like 2 games of Magic.
Amsterdam is the most games of Magic I've played at any Magic Con, and that's because I went out of my way to be like, I've gone through like a year of these and literally done nothing, and I played like 4 or 5 games totals. But it was just like, it was more about, it's just like, it's so great to be able to, and especially in Amsterdam, when it's like all the Europeans and stuff, the folks who don't come out here, or the Australians or whatever, people I get to see and talk and like interact with. And I was like, wow, like I got to meet Kai friggin' Buddha.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Oh my gosh. And I mean, like, I say this on like streams and all that kind of jazz, and I'm gonna like repeat it sort of here, is like a thing that we get a lot when we go, is like someone will come up and they'll be like, hey, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Oh no, please interrupt.
Or would it be okay if I get like this sign? And it's like, we are straight up there to see you. I'm gonna talk, to my friend and whatnot. But then the moment that, like, if Shivam and I are having a conversation and you're like, you want like my signature, or you want his signature, just come up and be like, hey, so could I grab one of your signatures? We will drop it and like instant, because that's why we're here. And like we want to interact, because frankly the matter is like, can do any of this without you, right? And it's my way personally of being like, thank you so much.
Well, yeah, exactly that. I'm like, look, dude, the least I can do is take a picture or sign something or whatever. Like, come on, man. Like, I don't have anything without people listening, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I was younger once, I talked to Margaret Weiss, the creator of Dragonlance. And at that point, I'd been just a fan, and I was like hardcore, and I'd been going to a lot of signings and stuff. And I'm like, man, Margaret, why do you keep listening to these people asking the same stupid question over and over and over again? And she's like, look, you and I have heard this question 10,000 times. That person may have waited their whole life. And this might be the one and only event they ever get to, and they've waited to ask me that one question. The least I can do is answer it for them genuinely and honestly, and with like, love, because I don't have a job. If this person in Topeka, Kansas, or in the south of France or whatever is reading my book, and I'm like, and after that, it changed the way I behaved entirely. And I was like, oh, like literally, I don't have anything without all these people. So I'm so grateful and glad to see them. And it's just like, yeah, please, as long as I'm not literally eating or pooping, you can have any conversation you want.
Yeah. I mean, like, and
also, and one guy tried to ask for my signature in the security line at the airport. Not a good time.
That's a bad time too. Yeah. At least until we're through, and then sure, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, and also it's just like a promotion of like, I really want you to have a good time at MagicCon, right? Because it's just like, I've done the GP. I did it when it became Magic Fest, and now I'm doing it when it becomes MagicCon. And this has been my favorite iteration of it. And I would like it to get to a point where, like my partner knows how to play Magic, but doesn't really care that much about magic, like, and that kind of thing. But like, they're considering coming out to Vegas, just to kind of like see what it is. And I wanted to be able to slightly appeal at some way to people who are only like tangentially related. It's like, I read comics. I'm not like a deep comic person, but I'll still have a great time at Comic-Con, right? Like, and I would love it for magic to sort of be in that sort of same realm where, it's
like I brought my wife to Chicago and she was like, look, I've done this now. I've seen it. This is not for me, but I'm glad you enjoy it and I get why you enjoy it.
Chicago was such a tough one too, dude, because it was like, it was a packed event. I think that was the most people that there have ever been in the smallest space, hall? I want to say.
Yeah, and like the other halls were empty.
Yeah.
And it was also like a mile away from the entrance. Like,
yeah, it was quite a ways from where we were staying. And like the thing that got me was there was just like not enough like free play space and stuff like that, to the point where if you walked out into like the sort of lobbyish area, there was just like people everywhere just like sitting on the ground playing magic, which was in a way kind of sweet. I was like, charming, look at us,
but also like we can do better than this. It's 2024, guys.
Yeah. So Amsterdam, in my opinion, has been my favorite by like a long mile
shot. Yeah.
And because like you said, like the party was great, which God, the pop punk party was emo party. I was just so happy. Fun. Me and James's wife, Ashley, we just like stood in there, just like belting out songs side by side. Right? And it was awesome.
It was such a good time. It was delightful. Okay, I got one last thing I want to ask you about.
Sure.
My favorite thing LRR ever did is Road Quest. I have watched Road Quest in its completion like multiple times, and I think that you guys had the most charisma and most like the greatest partnerships I've seen amongst like the LRR crew. And I thought this is the apotheosis. This is like the peak of what I want. And did you enjoy that experience? Because it looked like you did.
Oh my gosh! So Road Quest by far is one of my favorite things that I've ever had the opportunity to work on. It was for those who are not familiar, it was basically a homage almost to like Top Gear kind of thing, which Graham is like a massive fan of, where we were each given like $3,000 to buy like a beater car and then drive it from the island to essentially like the tip of the Yukon territories in Canada, and film the adventure. And it was over the course of like these multiple episodes, and it was this honestly like life-changing sort of experience where, imagine you are now trapped in a car with a bunch of your coworkers for like multiple days on end, kind of a thing. The highs and lows of emotion and stuff like that really get put to the test. And it's like, fun fact, in the cars, it was me and James and I had interacted quite a bit, so that was quite a fairly easy sort of walk into it. But Beej and Adam, who were in a car together, literally never really interacted with each other.
That was so funny to watch, like Beej indoctrinating him in anime, and I'm like,
anime,
but I'm just sitting there like, Adam must be in hell because he's got like 16 hours of being in a car with a dude rattling about anime, and I'm like,
oh man, and there's just so many great moments, and like seeing all these amazing things, like I guess it's like a slight spoiler, but also like, this has been out for a couple of years
ago,
yeah, right. It's like, so the wildest thing to me was like, so in Dawson City up there, they don't get nighttime. It never goes dark.
Really?
They're high enough that there is just perpetual daylight at all times, and they get like an hour of what's called like twilight.
That's insane.
Yeah, so every house has like blackout curtains and stuff like that, and it's just wild to be like, we had made it, so we like went to the bar and whatnot and had a couple of drinks, and should just be like walking home at like 11:30 at night, and it's still like bright out.
That's
and
crazy.
You're just like, what is going on, right? And it was cool, but it's like there were a lot of like laughs, a lot of like really really high moments, and then it's like even like I constantly bring it up as like one of the low moments, but ended up becoming one of my favorite moments of all time, which is there's a scene where we're driving on this kind of desolate sort of like road area, and there's kind of not really a lot to look at. So Alex, who's in another car, radio, because we each had little walkie-talkies, radios, hey guys, when is the last time we've seen a car? And it's funny because you're like, I really applaud your improvise, your yes anding, Ben. Like, you're really good. It didn't occur to me that it was starting a bit, and genuinely a car had passed us 5 minutes ago. So I'm like 5 minutes ago, dude. And so it cuts back to Alex, and he's like, great, thanks for you torpedoed the bit. And off camera, Graham kind of comes in on the radio and it's like, no, that's a really good thing. Let's try that again. Like work it. And none of this is scripted. Like, we're all, but it's like, if we have something, we're like, let's work with this bit. Let's play in the space. And so Alex is like, hey, Adam, when's the last time we saw a car? And Adam just bursts out laughing because he's like, I want to do it so bad. And Beach is like, oh, do it. And Adam's like 5 minutes ago, dude. And Alex just starts screaming, and like, we're all like you could, it's like, it feels tense, but it's just like we're laughing, kind of a thing. And Ian, who is this driver in the car, is like, okay, we'll do the bit together. And so Ian's like, here, I'll start. And Ian's like, hey, Alex, when's the last time we saw a car here? And Alex just bursts. He's like 5 minutes ago. And starts like laughing, and we're all just losing our mind. It's like, and you could tell that it was born of this thing where it's like, we've been driving today for like 7 hours straight. Like, we're so out of juice, and it was just like, we're in this.
What blew my mind is that realizing that only one person was driving the whole time for each car. Yeah, like, you didn't trade drivers.
No, and like it was. I think kind of like because they wanted it to be like a, the drivers and the co-pilot, and like that's like their role.
Yeah, but
or like
still, driving a garbage car for like 10 hours a day is a lot.
You know, the fact that James bought a Pontiac Sunfire to go on like a road trip,
the ghettoest car.
Oh my god,
it was such a miserable choice.
It was not great. But it was like none suspension. The door handle was like ripped off. The air filter did not work. So if you turned it on when we were on a dirt road, you just got like a mouthful of like asphalt or like, oh god, it was. But I would change none of it. Like, it was such a cool experience and one of my favorite things. And if you haven't watched it, I genuinely consider it, because that was actually, we talked about things tangential or tangible things that I can show like my relatives and whatnot who wonder what I do. I'm like, check this out, and they're like, wow, okay, and I kind of get an idea of what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
Although that led into a very funny thing of me showing my partner's aunt, who then watched it and then was like, I really like that one character. And I'm like, no, that's us. Like, we're they're like, I like that Adam guy. And I was just like, no, that's him. Like,
that's actually just Adam.
They're like, I think there were too many characters on this show. I was like, no, we're just people driving. But
I hope you guys get a chance to do that again. That was super fun.
Me too. Road Quest 2, would be great. I don't know where it would be. Maybe we go across the states or something like that. Yeah, that would be cool. But
like, there's a lot of land down here. But in any case, man, wow. Oh my God. We have talked for way past
like an hour and a half almost. Yeah.
All right, dude. But I mean, that's the joy of being friends, right? Like, we can just go. Like, I've had Alex Kessler on, and we've had like 2 hours of conversation before we hit record. And I'm like, okay, we actually need to tape this, or we're never going to.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. So thank you again for joining me. I love you. I love talking to you, and I can't wait to see you in Vegas. But if folks wanted to see you, your stuff, or whatever before then, where do they go?
Yeah, so really check out any of our Loading Ready Run streams at twitch.tv/Loading Ready Run. I run multiple ones. I run Let's Nopes on Tuesdays, AFK, which is our board gaming stream, on Wednesdays, Friday Night Paper Fight, which is our Magic stuff, on Friday. You can catch me there. I used to home stream. I don't actually, now that I run so much stuff over at the office.
I was actually just thinking about that. I'm like, I haven't seen your streams in a long time.
I just run. I got so many hands and so many pies and stuff like that. But then also, I don't know when this episode goes live, but there's a chance that our episodes of our brand new season of Friday Nights either is out or is coming out or whatever. So you can check us out at youtube.com/LRRMTG. And from there, we have a spread of channels with our main channel and our tabletop, whatever you're looking for. We got a lot of content there.
Yeah, I was
Or
describing
Engineering TV on Twitter, I guess. Engineering TV is my handle pretty much everywhere on all the socials.
I was describing to like some of my friends. I'm like, yeah, they basically run a TV channel, but it's on Twitch.
Yeah, it's very hard to describe this to Twitch partner reps and stuff like that, because it's like it is a little bit of an anomaly.
Yeah,
that we run our show like or channel like a TV channel, but yeah, it's got a little bit of everything.
You guys need to get some SCTV type sketches going on. I think that would be hilarious.
Yeah.
In any case, as always, my friends, you can see me at Gear Pretty Gears. You can see the show on YouTube every Tuesday. Thanks to my editor, Dan, or anywhere you can. God, I muffed my ending even. Yes, you can get those anywhere.
It was a squirrel. Squirrel came in.
Anyways, you can see me at Gear Pretty Gears on Twitter. You can get this podcast anywhere podcasts are sold, or at YouTube every Tuesday, thanks to my editor, Dan. Or you can see me on Shivam Wheeler Love Magic, where me and the other Ben from Loading Run sit and talk about every single card in the history of the game. And it is probably one of my favorite things to do. And then also my Dragonlance podcast, Chronicles of Dragonlance, which me and my friend John go chapter by chapter through the first 3 books of Dragonlance so far. Super fun. I just like talking into these mics, so I just keep making podcasts for myself. But remember, my friends, it's not magic without the gathering, and we'll see you next time.